Hello and welcome to another rowing coaching video. Really thank everybody for subscribing. I think we're up to about 300 subscribers now, which is really great. It means a whole lot to me, so thanks for tuning in. Today's video is about maximizing performance at a indoor rowing race. It's early January and we're just about gearing up for the indoor rowing season here in the US. So I wanted to put out a video to talk about 11 different things that you can do to maximize your performance on race day. So without further ado, here we go. The 5 things that come to mind that contribute to performance, both leading up to an event and then after the performance, are these 5 performance criteria right here. Pretty straightforward. Food and drink. Make sure you're eating the right foods and no alcohol. Sleep, make sure you're sleeping well, so get 8 hours of sleep a night. Environment, make sure that you're hanging out and training with people that build you up and avoid that toxic person or an environment that's not healthy for you. The other thing you can do for your environment is stock your kitchen full of good fruits. What I tend to do around about 9 o'clock at night is go for my apples and my bananas rather than the candy, and that's really helped me control my weight and eat overall very healthy. The next thing is training. Obviously you need a good training plan, you need a good long-term training plan. 2 weeks to go before an erg competition isn't the time to kick in the training, so hopefully you've been working hard and you've been planning for this for a while and you're in a good program and that program is working well, and improvement is being measured as you go. And then finally the last thing is stress. Try to not take on too much in life, particularly the week before the event. I am learning how to say no to people so that I can focus on the things I really need to focus on. So that's really just good life advice there, and certainly it's going to help you with your indoor rowing performance or any other race for that matter. So those are the 5 factors that contribute to performance, and now we're going to look at 6 other things that lead up to the actual event. So preparing for race day, we're really talking about the 72 hours prior to race time and what you can be doing. Obviously your mindset is important, so be working on that really up to 72 hours. You shouldn't be just trying to do the mind work just as you get ready for a race 3 days before. But certainly 72 hours out, you're trying to get yourself into a champion mindset, very positive self-talk, thinking about where do you need to be, visualizing how you want that race to go, really sort of playing that over, meditating if you like, just trying to get your brain into that place where you're really going to compete well and you're really going to have a successful event. So what I've done is I've got a download link, and the link to the blog post is in the comments below. So if you want to click on that, you'll be able to access this downloadable worksheet right here. And if you click on that, it'll take you to a worksheet that you can go through, and I think it really helps to write these things down. It's been very helpful to me in my performance career, and so hopefully that's helpful to you. The other thing is this is one of many worksheets that you will get access to if you join the mailing list and the email list and take the Athlete Psychology Diagnostic, which is a little app I put together to help you diagnose your strengths and your development areas in your competitive mindset, and it really gives you these activities to do, like goal setting and other things like that. So have a go at that. If you haven't joined the email list, go ahead and do that. So now we're going into the actual race day, and warming up is important. So know what your race time is, know what that is, so and what erg you're going to be on, so what number erg you're going to be on and what flight you're in. If you're at a very busy event, it's possible that there aren't a whole lot of warm-up machines, so know what time you're going to race so that you can get yourself stretching and warm up. I would recommend warming up 30 to 40 minutes before your race time. I think that's sufficient, and your warm-up should really consist of 15 minutes of steady state, maybe 20 minutes, really just kind of getting your system going. And the schedule I've got right here is power 20s. So you paddle for about 5 minutes, then do a power 20 at 20 strokes per minute, and then paddle out a little bit more, and then do another 20 stroke power burst at 24 strokes per minute, and then another 20, and so forth. So you're sort of building that rate up, just trying to learn to apply the power at the low rate and then bring it up to race rate, and then do 20 strokes flat out and get yourself warmed up. Another thing you could do is do a 45-second to a 60-second piece. You're not going to run out of energy if you do this. But what will happen if you're not warmed up properly is it's going to be too much of a shock to the system and you'll probably underperform. So just make sure that you're getting a good warm up before you get into that sitting down on that machine. Obviously stretching goes without saying, and hopefully you've got a good stretching routine, to mobilize your hips and stretch out your hamstrings. So hopefully that's going to be helpful to you, and you should be doing that every day at practice anyway. Staying off your feet is very, very important. Obviously, if you're a masters rower, you might be able to control when you can show up and when you can leave, so maybe this isn't a big issue. Having coached junior teams, it is highly possible that your team will show up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you're going to watch all the morning events go off and all the afternoon events go off, and maybe your event isn't until 4 o'clock. It's very, very important to stay off your feet, just like it would be on race day on a hot day. So just make sure that you're staying off your feet. If you want to watch the races and support your teammates, that's fine, but be smart about getting off your feet and sitting in a chair and maybe watching some races. Usually there's a big screen projecting that program that tells you how everybody's doing relative to each other, so it's probably easy to see how things are going, and certainly be a good teammate, but definitely look after your own interests as well. The next thing is hydrate. Hydrating really should be consistent in training. Certainly want to start hydrating well 72 hours before the event. Continue to drink fluids as you go through the day. If you go into the bathroom every 30 to 45 minutes during race day, I think you're in good shape. So, it just goes without saying. A lot of the time, in my experience, going to these indoor rowing events, there's a very dry atmosphere to it. And I feel like when I'm done with my 2,000 meter piece, my throat's very dry and scratchy. And I just think it's very, very important to keep yourself hydrated, as you go. So, very important. Usually you have somebody who's your coxswain. That's somebody who can sit behind you on a chair and motivate you. This person should be somebody who fits your motivational style and knows you pretty well and knows how to fire you up and push your buttons when they need to. Personally, I don't need anybody yelling in my ear and screaming at me for 2,000 meters. I need somebody who's pretty cool-headed, and we've talked through the race plan, and I don't need somebody yelling at me, but maybe you do. And so this is purely an individual preference. But make sure that you've talked through with that person, ahead of time what your race plan is, what splits you're going to pull at a certain point in the race, and really just have a plan together for that 2,000 meter piece. This point really probably one of the more critical ones is row your race. It's very, very important that if, for example, you're a 7-minute 2K or you're an 8-minute 2K or whatever that is, so that's a 1:45 split or a 2-minute split if you're rowing 8 minutes, is to obviously go off hard at the beginning of the race. But once you get to that 20 to 25 stroke point, settle into that base pace, the one that you've been training at, okay? You're not going to magically pull a 6:40 if you've been pulling a 7-minute race piece. One of the things that I find that is very deceptive about the beginning of that first 300 or 400 meters in a race is it always feels a lot easier. The erg's new, hopefully it's new, and you just feel really good. And if you don't settle into that race rate, you're going to find that when you hit 700, 800, 900 meters, you're going to hit the lactate wall, and you don't want to do that. So if your target split, you're aiming for a 7-minute, your target split is 1:45 for that entire piece, go right to 1:45, 1:46, within 20 to 25 strokes at the start of the race. Switch your energy systems from anaerobic to aerobic at the right point so that you're not paying for it. And then if you get to 1100 gone and you've got 900 to go and you feel good, bring that down to your target split, or maybe a second underneath that, and then start to work. You're going to find you have a lot more in the bag. Don't try and win the race in the first 1,000 meters. Row your race, row smart, know what your capability is, and you'll come out with a good piece. I've also written a blog post which I've linked to in the blog, so if you want to check out the blog in the link below, that tells you a little bit about how to train for that settle stroke so that you are pacing that workout as you go. But the bottom line is row your own race and you'll have a good one. So post-race, we're back to the 5 general areas that contribute to performance. So if you've had a good row and hopefully you've rowed a personal best, congratulations, that's awesome. And so that's good. But sometimes you get off that machine and it just hasn't been your day. Well, what you can do instead of focusing on that disappointment is retarget your focus on the 5 areas that you should be looking at leading up to your training and leading up to the event. So go down the list. Was my food and drink, was my diet in a good place? Did I keep the stress level low, or was I up till 2 in the morning writing that paper? So if you're a high school student, sometimes it's really difficult to get that training in, make your coach happy, make your teachers happy, but try and balance that. Be smart about it. Turn off the mobile device so that you're not up late. Get good sleep. And so what we're doing here is we're looking at those 5 things rather than dwelling on, the performance wasn't good. Or if the performance was good, then do a review of these 5 things. And then as you go into your next training cycle, hopefully your next erg race or your rowing race on the water is much more successful. So there's a lot here. I've done my best in 10 minutes to go through and part my knowledge to you in terms of the things that I would think about in an indoor rowing race and how to prepare for that. I really appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully you made it this far. Congratulations if you have. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate you doing so. And remember to visit my blog for more information, rowing articles and things like that. And if there's something you'd like to see on this YouTube channel that you think would be helpful, please sound off in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. It means a lot. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.